I think I'd like to take this time to give a very special thanks to Shawn and Patrick Donahue. They are filmmakers, stuntmen. I had met them in the early 90s. But all through the 80s, I was doing a lot of extra work on films just to be on the set. And so for a long time, I studying acting and doing extra work, there was a very long period of time where I really wasn't getting to where I needed to be. I think it was in the early 80s, I was studying film at De Anza College. They had a good film lab there. And I saw a newspaper coverage on Pat Donahue. And he filmed a movie called Kill Squad here in San Jose. And it was a feature film shot on 35 millimeter, and it was a big deal. And I remember I still have that newspaper clipping. And I says, wow, I got to meet this guy. And so that was in the early 80s, and it wasn't until the mid 90s where I finally got to I met Shawn Donahue. He was in the gym, and we were in the gym, and somebody had said, Shawn! And I turned, I thought somebody was calling me, and they were actually calling Shawn Donahue. And I go, oh, wow, that's Shawn Donahue. And I remember meeting Shawn. I met him briefly at a premiere for a film that he was in called The Vineyard with James Hong, and it was produced by Harry Mock. So I met Shawn briefly. So when I went up to him in the gym, he recalled meeting me. And I says, hey, are you working on anything? He says, yeah, I'm actually getting ready to make a movie. And I says, well, if you need any help, I'm around. And so I teamed up with Shawn, and I ended up doing some co-writing with him. And at the time, I was buying and selling cars, and so I bought several cars very cheap, and that would end up being smashed up. I can remember going out and buying probably 5 cars, and they were all in Shawn's front yard. And he looked at me and he says, well, now we have to make a movie. So anyway, we ended up making this movie called The Rough Cut, feature film. And then I went on to do 3 more films with the Donahues. Then we went on to do Ground Rules, and that had Frank Stallone and Richard Lynch and Ted Marklin. You may remember Ted Marklin from Another 48 Hours. Really loved his character in that film. And then we went on to do Shattered Dreams with Eric Estrada. Shawn brought up Eric Estrada. And then we did another movie called Dancing on Coals. It was a comedy. And for me, the experience with working with Shawn and Pat at Bottom Line Studios was amazing, because it allowed me to really see what it was like from beginning to end to, write the film and break it down and finish it.
Where you going?
So doing 4 feature films shot on 16 millimeter, that really prepared me for when I started Almaden Films, because it was one thing to write a script and to dream about making a movie, and it's another thing to actually go out and do it. And so I owe a debt of gratitude to Shawn and Pat. They took me under their wings, and I'll never forget that. And so one day, I can remember too, when I first started working with Pat, I took that newspaper clipping into him, and I says, hey, I still have this newspaper clipping, and I'd like to get your autograph. He never signed it. So maybe he'll see this video and asked me to bring the newspaper clipping over so he can sign it. So anyway, Shawn, Pat, thank you very much. I know there's talk about future films. I hope that comes true. I know we're in a much different time right now. But I hope that we can all get together and do another film, Patrick Donahue style. Anyway, thank you, Shawn and Pat, and I wish you guys all the very best.
How was it?
Great.
Where's the next one? Can we do it again?
How you doing, Shawn?
You alright?
Good.
Scored that tree.